This might be the most un-vice presidential address I've ever seen. Whether accidentally or on purpose, J.D. Vance just exposed MAGA's deepest, darkest secret while having a total meltdown hosting the Charlie Kirk Show. And I'm going to tell you up front that that secret is what we all knew all along, that MAGA just wants more political violence.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder.
But what J.D. Vance didn't say, or rather scream to the camera here, was that there should be no unity with people who immediately and egregiously politicize and profit off of the murder of a bigoted, hateful content creator turned MAGA martyr.
Welcome, my son. Your work is done. Come rest.
But that is exactly what we have seen this administration, Trump's family, and the widow of Kirk herself do instantly, along with stoking and inciting violence against whomever they deem to be in the wrong here. Or in Trump's case, pretending to not even fucking know about violence against the left.
We have some serious news right now. Donald Trump was just asked whether he ever considered lowering the flag for Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota lawmaker who was assassinated earlier this year, like he did for Charlie Kirk. His answer was, quote, "I'm not familiar." Who? He tried to play off that he didn't know who Melissa Hortman was, even though she was assassinated literally for being a political official earlier this year in Minnesota.
So please keep that in mind, because you are not going to believe what Vance screamed while hosting Charlie Kirk's show today. But in order to drive home just how hypocritical it was, we first have to talk about what Donald Trump's own family and Kirk's family are doing in the immediate aftermath of his tragic murder. Because it's never too soon for Trump or MAGA to turn a horrific tragedy into a massive scam.
In honor of Charlie, tell me about this book.
Well, you know what, Maria, you and I have talked about it 1,000 times. I've been on this show 1,000 times talking about it. They did everything they could to take down my father, our family, to bankrupt us, to impeach my father, to take him off the ballots in states. They raided our home. And that's what the book Under Siege is about. And I literally published it on Wednesday, right? It came out on Wednesday. And then this happens to Charlie. That would have been another chapter in this book of how they try to silence us, how they try and take us off that stage.
Right. But why should the Trump family be the only ones to cash in on the liquidity of Kirk's murder? After vowing that her husband's mission will continue, the widow of Charlie Kirk has made a major fundraising push following the right-wing political activist assassination. Some American leaders, both Republicans and Democrats, have called for unity and an end to political violence in the wake of this tragic death in Utah last week. Others have used the assassination as a rallying cry, as we will see J.D. Vance do in just a second. On Sunday alone, a blitz of fundraising texts went out under Erica Kirk's name for both the organization co-founded by Kirk, Turning Point USA, which organizes and trains young conservatives, as well as its political advocacy arm, Turning Point Action. Get this, the text linked to a fundraising page that says the cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry, an allusion to her remarks, of which a 22.5-minute video sits at the top of the header. And then you have donation amounts ranging from $25 all the way up to $100,000, one time or monthly. This also coincides with a massive uptick in relevance for the organization. Turning Point USA received more than 32,000 inquiries about starting new campus chapters in just 48 hours. And I don't know about you, but having these chapters in high schools and colleges with rhetoric like that doesn't sound like toning down the rhetoric or calling for unity. Quite literally exactly the opposite. Here is just part of what J.D. Vance, our sitting vice president, screamed at Kirk's young audience from the dead man's own podcast. And the chyron underneath his name, instead of saying vice president, says longtime friend of Charlie Kirk.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country.
And look, some of that would be all fine and good if you and Trump and MAGA weren't directly involved in propping up, financing, and supporting not only the ideology that got Kirk killed, but government organizations that are fundamentally being weaponized as domestic terrorism arms. Just because the people being targeted by ICE or murdered in Gaza are brown does not mean they are any less deserving of the sympathy you seem so willing to dish out for Charlie Kirk and his MAGA Christo-fascist white ass. While some on the left may take it too far and may make off-color jokes, or some wildly extreme and small amount of cases may actually be celebrating, which we do not condone here, first of all, doesn't it go against everything that you are claiming to stand for, to fight against those people's right to free speech, even if it's offensive to you? And secondly, let's compare what's happening on the other side. I just made a video the other day about Nazi Karens making a website to dox people who even talk critically of Charlie Kirk. They claim they're doing it only against people who celebrate his death, but they are compiling a website of names to dox them. There is some good news.
Public service announcement, the right-wing doxing site has moved. The old one, Charlie's Murderers, is down, and they have moved to charliekirkdata.org. And it looks like they are still figuring out how to make a submission form that we can't submit to. And so while I have no clue why the original one was taken down, I have a feeling it's because of actions similar to what I advocated before, but not like me literally, but like it's kind of obvious. This is a good reminder that they are much more violent than they are intelligent.
Exhibit B.
So a few moments ago, I filed a police report against Laura Loomer, who is one of Donald Trump's closest allies, because she sent me a private message on Twitter threatening me and threatening my son. And it comes after 48 hours where she's been calling me a demon and telling her supporters to come after me and saying that I don't deserve a moment's peace. It comes about a year after she doxed my personal address and has been coming after my business and my staff for a very long time.
So while the left commits the biblical sin of not having enough sympathy for a bigot whose life was tragically cut short because of the exact same gun violence that he advocated was a necessary evil of the Second Amendment. And while many people are quick to point out the irony, while still being so fucking blatant that they condemn all political violence, and even that this tragedy saddens them, the MAGA snowflakes and hateful, violent bigots on the right are doing exactly what their plan has been all along. And I should note that this is probably a smaller portion of these MAGA bigots than we actually think it is because the internet just operates how it does. And I'm sure most of us actually feel pretty similarly about this. But for the vice fucking president to sit there and say there is no unity, to stoke the flames of an already on edge nation, and dog whistle to the most abhorrent extremists on the far radical right that are the most likely to commit violence and the most down the internet hellhole that makes these white Christian men do this most of the time? That, in my opinion, is impeachable at least and blasphemously ungodly at worst. This is fucking sick, and JD Vance should be ashamed of himself, but he won't be because he's a soulless, spineless puppet. There is a lot wrong with this nation, and there has been for a long time. But Donald Trump and JD Vance are never going to be the leadership that will get us to a solution. Unless, of course, you're talking about some sort of ultimate solution, because they are very much on the way to making that a reality, and that is fucking scary.
A Wilmington family is traumatized after federal officers arrest their father during a violent confrontation.
Yeah, that father of five has been here in the U.S. for about 30 30 years. His family says he's committed no crimes. But take a look. Security cameras capturing this detainment. A federal agent is seen pointing what is a large gun at the father, kicking him at least once. The confrontation has left the family and friends frightened tonight and fearful that this is happening to other people. Rachel Menitoff joining us live from Wilmington, where she spoke with that family.
Please be careful what you post online. This is a safe space, but we cannot control who has access to our comment section, what lengths these lunatics will go to try and own the libs, whether that be via internet doxing, death threats, or very violent retribution. And really the only solace we have right now are that, as that creator said earlier, these people are a lot stupider than they are violent. Thank you for caring and watching. If you made it this far, please make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to Really American. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse. I will see you all in the next one.